What up, guys? It's day 13 of trying to win my first Pro Golf Mini Tour event. I just finished the first round of the second tournament of the season. I shot 3 over, 75, and I've got a host family dinner coming up in just a few minutes, so I'm going to give a quick little rundown of today's round, little recap. The front 9 I shot 4 over, the back 9 I shot 1 under, and I'll go really quick hole by hole, just over the highlights. The third hole was a par 5, and I got stuck in the left rough in some really thick rough. Had to hit it over a tall tree. It could only hit like 54 degree. From there, I had a gap wedge from the rough. I loved it, but it sailed just over the pin, kind of a jumper lie over the back of the green. And these greens were fast right now, and the rough is like spongy and thick and grainy and sandy in some places. Not all, but some places. So you can have these like really flubbable chips. And the green was all working away for me there. So the best I could do was like 20 feet, bogey on what should be an easy par 5. 3-putted the next hole, which was a par 3 from the middle of the green by missing about a 6-footer that really snapped left hard on me. Cruised for a little while, made 1 birdie in the mix there with a bomb. It was actually pretty sick. It was like a chip from the trees that had to go low, got to like 50 feet, made the putt. But then our next par 5, I wound up having about 160 in, 9-iron, just skipped over the green. They're firm greens, and when you're coming from the rough, it's really tough to gauge. Some of them are like dry rough lies, and some of them are moist rough lies, and those respond differently. And it has to do with whether the ball is gonna like sit softly on the green or just skip through. And these fairways are pretty tight, so I don't think I hit more than a handful of fairways, and I don't think I hit the ball that bad. You know, it's tough to be coming into all these greens from the fairway, and that makes it tough to gauge the shot. So anyway, on paper you're like, oh, 160 par 5, birdie all day, and yeah, on paper 100%. But not being in the fairway was issue number 1. Issue number 2 was it skipping over the green into this type of rough lie that I was describing, into the grain. Very tall, spongy, and sandy because it was right next to the bunker and dusted with people's like continual sand shots there. And I took like 10 practice strokes, could not figure out exactly how I wanted to play it, flubbed it, same position, you know, barely did better on the next one, barely got out on the green, 2-putt from 20 feet. So you walk away feeling like you just lost 2 or maybe even 3 shots there after already having another instance like that on the front. And it's not like I was hot. I'd say my attitude was 9 out of 10. So good. I had set a commitment to not let myself go there. You know, it's much easier to just not go there in the first place. And what I mean by that is like getting really frustrated and really angry and starting to, you know, get down on yourself and not have good self-talk. It's so much harder once you've flip that switch and you go there. Your brain starts releasing chemicals and you release cortisol. Like, you know, unless you're Superman, it is hard to turn that train around 180 degrees once it's headed that way. And yeah, sometimes you can play decent golf like that, but you're never going to play your best, and chances are you're going to spiral even further the other way. So it's much easier, even though it's tough, it's much easier to just not go there in the first place and not have to deal with that comeback than it is to go there and then after a couple holes where you've burned a few more bogeys and now you're cooled off, you know, to try to claw your way back into it from there. I just had that talk with Kyle after the last tournament, and so I was really strongly committed to that this week, and I think I did a great job. So stepping to number 9, probably the hardest hole on the course. It's a forced layup. There's hazards left and right on the tee shot and on the green, and you wind up having to leave yourself like 200 plus, you know, depending on how aggressive of a line you take. So it's like hybrid off the tee, and I fanned mine a little right, and I have 255 left into the wind, in the rough, downhill, water left, water right. So even a layup is like, that's not really any safer. And because it was a wispy lie in the rough, I felt like I could put a pretty good club on it with the hybrid. I had a hazard on the right that was about 210 to carry, and that hybrid for me is like off the tee, it's like a 260 club, and off of the fairway, it's like 240, and from the rough, it's pretty much could be anything, even up to like 280, depending on how hard it rolls. So I really wasn't thinking, as long as I hit it solid, that there was an issue covering there. And I hit it okay. It was a little fanny to the right, but that was where my bailout was, rather than an overdraw left, which would have gone straight into a hazard, which went all the way pin high. The hazard on the right stopped at like 215 at the front of the green. The pin was all the way in the back. And basically, didn't cover it, hit right into the reeds and kicked back in the water. And there was like a gust of wind that kind of picked up as my ball was in the air, which I'm sure didn't help. And also the ball just flying low because it was off a downslope. But I just broke my round down with my friend and roommate this week, Conrad Isley. And, you know, we talked a lot. That was sort of a pivotal point in the round. It's like you're already feeling, if you're letting your brain, you know, not be completely present, then you're thinking like, man, I just wasted 2 on that par 5, even though I didn't do a whole lot wrong. Normally, if you're on or around a par 5 green and 2, you're going to convert for birdie. But I talked with all the guys right now after, and everybody seconded my struggle with the chipping in a few cases. But some guys shot some good scores, so obviously some people didn't have to deal with that, and usually that's probably just because they hit more greens and didn't have as many chips. So granted, I'm not hitting the ball my best right now. That's going to take some time to develop. It's not like I've been playing a hell of a lot of golf lately and, you know, I should be sharp. It's like, no, I'm totally finding it in the dirt and piecing it together right now. I've been out here for like 7 days, and even half of that or more I've spent heavily focused on creating content and talking to brands and trying to get myself set up long term to be able to do this as a sustainable model, earning revenue through my social media, allowing me to continue playing golf and allowing me to have the best chance possible to advance to the next levels and earn a living off of both golf and social media. So I'm sure you guys know that by now. I've been talking about it a lot, and my point is that no, my ball striking is not perfect. No, I'm not super comfortable standing over all of my shots, and a big part of that is just hitting more shots. You know, I guarantee 100 days into this comeback rather than 10 days, I'm going to be a hell of a lot more sure where my ball is going, and my body's going to move in a lot more repeatable manner. So until I get there, yeah, I might have to play a slightly different game than the guys at the top of the leaderboard hitting 10 fairways and 16 greens and having a birdie putt on all their holes. I might have to get up and down sometimes, but normally it's not going to be as challenging as some of these lies were today. So I basically had to take a drop on the 9th hole, and the pin was all the way in the back, and I was on a 3-tiered green. It ran all the way up to the top of the tier and rolled down, so I actually had a pretty challenging 2-tier putt for double bogey, converted, and without continuing to go shot by shot all the way through the next 18, I basically got myself to 2 under on the back, bogey free, through a combination of making one bomb on a par 4 like 12, and then on a par 5 really soft flop shot over a tree. I was like way long of this par 5 and 2 because it got in the rough and rolled really far right and long. Soft flop shot, made a 9-footer for birdie, and then from there cruised through a couple pars and stepped to 18, which was another similar hole to that 9th hole where you got a layup with like a hybrid, and then the pin was all the way in the back and there's a hazard left, and I didn't have a full club. I had like 152, which was like a half 9 for me, which right now my irons normally all draw, and as long as I'm playing one shot shape, I can go play golf. But these 3/4 swings, a lot of them are having my irons fall right because I'm just not really finishing the swing aggressively, and that makes it really hard for me to pick an aim line knowing that it can go either way. And so it's just a little bit of uncomfortableness over that ball, and I shanked it. And right now I've been good for about 1 per round. And that's always been a part of my game. I mean, seriously, going back like 8 years, I can think of tournament rounds that I shot 64, including a shank, where I like got up and down for par after that. So, you know, I can be hitting some great shots and have my swing in a good place, and that hand path for me still just has a tendency to want to creep out sometimes. Usually when I swing harder at the ball, I'll try to generate that speed too much from my upper body, and that hand path can creep out. So it's something that I've always had to work on. I know I can get better though. I'd like to eliminate that totally, but yeah, that put me in a bad spot. Thick rough, about a yard from a hazard right. Really tough chip. Great job to get myself 12 feet, left it short. And so all together today, I struggled with a 2-way miss with my driver. I played a brand new driver today, by the way. My friend Kyle was letting me test an old model of his on the range. It was a Sim 2 with a different shaft than mine, and I've been playing a Ping G400 because it's been missing 2 ways. My driver should fade, and I've been hitting like half of them as a double cross, like hard draws, and again, making it impossible to aim. And it seemed on the range the other day with him, like I couldn't miss it left. Like I was trying to miss it left, and even if I hit it on the toe, the twist face was keeping it pretty straight. So I loved it, and I played it in the practice round yesterday, and it was pretty good. It still missed left a good amount, but it was I thought it was better than mine, so I gamed it today, which felt like kind of a risky thing to do, but the driver has not really been my friend lately, so I figured it couldn't hurt to try. But man, I sniped it about 6 times today, so not super sure what to do tomorrow now. Did not like seeing it go left on me 50% of the time or more. That made golf a lot harder today, not playing from the fairways, trying to judge these jumpers from the rough, having to pitch out from the trees a couple times. So yeah, there's a couple things to work on, but what Conrad and I just talked about was like, realistically, if on number 9, for instance, if I'm not still thinking about on number 8 how I just lost a couple shots, not even really feeling like it was my fault, but I just lost a couple shots with that flub chip scenario. You want coming to dinner at Nikki's? All right, see y'all in a second. Later, boys. That was Brady and Kevin Stanek, all the boys coming over to dinner at our host family right now. But anyway, had I not been still slightly preoccupied mentally with what just happened on 8, probably would have done a better job on 9 of not thinking like, I gotta find a way to make par. I really need to hit this hybrid, even though it's 255 into the wind and there's hazards all over the place and I'm in the rough on a downslope. Like, I thought long and hard about that one. I just didn't have any other great option. It wasn't like, oh, we'll just hit a 4-iron and be a little short. It's like, no, otherwise I'm probably just gonna like chip something 100 yards and still have a fairly challenging iron and then 2-putt from there. So it wasn't even like I was eliminating double by laying up. So just a few of the situations I was in today were kind of challenging and not ideal. And if you play 5 rounds in a row out here, I've got to believe that that's not going to happen too many more times. Like, I don't think I got what I deserved out of that round. I think I could have been better, but not much, but a little bit better at staying in the present and not piecing together stories about what's happened in the round and what needs to happen in the future and forcing things for birdies. Like, I could have done a little bit better, and I'm sure I will with practice, but in general, it was pretty good. I think my attitude was mint. I walked right off the course even after making that bogey finishing hole shank, which was really frustrating. Like, I did a nice job of recovering the round and could have posted 1 or 2 over easily. And from the looks of the scores right now, like, that would have been an okay place. I'm getting the feeling that the cut's going to be like 2 under. I think if it was today, it would be like even or 1 under. So you just think of multiplying that by 2, and it might be 1, 2, 3 under tomorrow, which is very, very doable. If I'm sitting closer to even, it's a little more challenging at 3 over. So yeah, very frustrating to finish the way I finished after working hard the entire back 9 to bring the round back. But walked straight into all the guys, and 80% of them have shot 2, 3, 4, 7 under, and cranking some beers, having fun, and I'm just doing my best to not be a sour pants, not be a crybaby, not be a little toddler, like talk to people immediately. This is all good shit. I feel like I'm, getting more and more practice at, minimizing the importance of every round and every shot, and this being life or death, and, making this cut being such an important thing. Like, it's a long-term process. I'm in this for the long haul. I think everything I'm doing outside of golf is setting me up to be able to play for a very long time and be funded. And I know that applying as much energy as I am right now for a long period of time, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, there's just no way I'm not gonna win at this game long term. Like, my run at it in the past might have not looked how I wanted it to look, but this time's different. So overall, super, super hopeful and encouraged. I'm sure there's going to be some days where it's a little harder for me to articulate that and I'm a little more down. I've already seen that since I've been out here. I've had 1 or 2 days that were more high anxiety and kind of closer to panic attack vibes and unsure of whether or not I could do it. And that's fine. That's part of the process. I'm putting more and more support pieces around me every day and believing more and more in myself every day. And so I think those instances of real downer vibes are going to be more few and far between, and this sort of continual progression upward on a line graph is more of what this summer and the rest of the year is going to look like. So that's a wrap on day one of the Fox Run golf tournament, which is the second Dakotas Tour event of the season. I teed off at 2 p.m. today. Tomorrow I tee off at 8:50 a.m. Looking forward to that. So now I'm going to go kick it with my host family, eat some enchiladas, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.